Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, thank you for helping me, but here is a 400 plus word message why you helped me wrong. How I quit my first job as tech support. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Thank you for helping me, but here is a 400 plus word message why you helped me wrong. I work for a small OEM company that builds PCs and sell them via different distributors. To find out anything about any configuration we prefer to work of the serial number, as this is unique to every single device. We also have similar configurations which only differ by which mainboard is used or another CPU that is used, and all those tiny differences that make a big difference at the end. Today I got a very interesting exchange with a customer that I helped figure out what he wanted, but I did it wrong. His first email was as follow. Dear company, 2 years ago I bought a PC with Windows, but I wish the Windows disk was bigger. Now I want to use a bigger one. Can you tell me what RAM is installed, manufacturer, and how many slots are available, 4x4 or 2x8 RAM installed, and if the RAM I want to install would fit? Sadly, I have no documents regarding this PC, and I have no product name, and I don't want to take the PC out of the desk just to see if a serial number might be on the back, or to open the case and see how many slots are available. You have to know this kind of information and be able to tell me if I can do that. List of specs like CPU, GPU, amount of disk space on C and D, 64x Windows 10. I want to use this RAM and want to know if it's compatible. My response was as this. Dear customer, sadly I can't provide you correct information without a serial number. There is a freeware called Specky that reads all the system data and gives you information like product names of the components and such. With the product name you can easily search those on the manufacturer's site and find all the needed information. This is a Google Translate of his response. Thank you very much for your helpful tip with the Specky. That worked wonderfully, and now I know what I have. Of course this is a quick solution, but not really what you mean by the customer is king or customer-friendly service. Winky face. Therefore I have to say that it would be customer-friendly not only to clip the old serial numbers on the back of the computer, but to store them somewhere under the driver files on the computer. Who is constantly crawling under the desk where he has to determine a tiny number with a flashlight, just because he wants some information from the manufacturer. This is really tedious, especially when you have a dozen cables hanging on the computer, all of which just barely reach the socket. Or do you really expect that we all have desks in the middle of the room? As you can see, that's a typical male way of thinking. Definition of men's thinking: construction of coffee machines with ultramodern equipment, and in the end all the pots spill because they let their women make coffee for them. For advertising, companies like you make all sorts of changes so that it flashes everywhere. The customer is led to some partner site and the company logo appears permanently. A little more customer friendliness would be a good idea if you don't provide any support without a serial number. And why do you actually need a serial number to determine the number and size of the RAM banks? And let's be honest, that is completely superfluous for this question, even for a possible reason that is not enough. The support of a manufacturer should actually know what he has sold. You will surely see that as well. You only need to collect the data sheets of the computers on offer and write the date of the offer on it, then you can determine within a few minutes which complete systems you sold 2 years ago. I don't know, but sometimes companies really trip themselves up because they don't come up with the simplest ideas. I just threw a product out of my company because they had such shitty support and overloaded the system with customer-unfriendly nerd functions. On the other hand, I also recommend computers to my company, and they are constantly buying new computers for their more than 200 partner companies throughout the country. You certainly want to shine in your job, so you can bring it in as an innovative suggestion. Sometimes there is even a financial bonus for this. Well, that was a comment. As I said, you helped me, so thank you, and have a nice weekend. I am unsure what to do with his insightful tip. I forwarded it to my coworkers and my superior, hopefully they can figure it out. How I quit my first job as tech support. I quit a gig as tech support after a particular customer where I was called on a Saturday morning because the laptop was completely dead. Laptop was stationary, and I knew the customer was well known for being unreasonably rude as well as willfully ignorant with tech, managed to destroy 2 keyboards within months by typing. I was woken up by the call, and while still trying to figure out where, who, and how, I was tried to guide the customer trough basic troubleshooting. Is there any sign of LED light being on, fan spinning, HDD spinning, press power button for 5s, is the power brick plugged in, does the power brick feel warm, are all cable connections solid and plugged in? All of the questions were answered in the negative in increasingly rude and aggressive manner. Finally decided to drive there. My hourly rate was $10 back then. Don't ask, I was young, desperate, and thought the guy I worked for would actually teach me valuable skills in the process. The other catch? I was only being paid for time spent with the customer or on their machines, not for traveling. 5 HRS later, I arrived with a full set of tools, equipment, spare power brick, and even a replacement laptop in case the old one committed Sudoku. Customer was pissed that I took this long. Again, I want to reiterate that it was Saturday, now 9 a.m. After going over the routine checks myself, the customer got even more mad, claiming I already checked that you told me on the phone. Do something, it's all your fault, etc. I tried to ignore her. Yes, it's exactly what you think. The woman was the typical stereotype of a self-important Karen. After 5 minutes I checked the laptop and could not find any signs of life whatsoever, so I checked the power brick. Surprisingly, it was plugged in and warm. Then it hit me as I checked the other side where the cable leading to the laptop was plugged in. Naturally, it wasn't. Cable management was non-existent under her desk and between 3 PCs, and about a quarter ton of paperwork on and under the desk with equal amount of dust. She or one of her numerous cats and little kids that had access to the office must have accidentally unplugged it. Plugged it back in, laptop works again. 10 minutes of work that could have been avoided if the customer actually did what I asked and actually answered my questions truthfully instead of ignoring them and simply saying no every time. In the end, I received a whopping $10, spent 5 hours of driving, $20 on gas, and the better part of a Saturday on a loose cable. Needless to say, I don't work for this particular company anymore. I did, however, take over several of his clients that were friendly and respectful and needed continued support. It turned out after he hired me, he fired every other tech he had in the area and was now unable to provide service to anyone in half the state. This particular story was just the last straw in a long line of particularly frustrating assignments, including things like being forced to drive 2 hours to a customer to install a new wireless keyboard, driving 3 hours to a customer to install an Apple docking station on a Windows laptop, and fix a broken mouse at the aforementioned Lattice office, aka insert the batteries in the right direction, all the while being only paid for the actual labor, not the time spent on the road. In the end, I did learn valuable lessons, but not from my employer.